Okay. Welcome, everybody. I'm Linda Nickel. Thanks for coming and joining us tonight. So we are doing these little happiness hours. I didn't come up with that name. Erin did. I was trying to be clever, and that's as clever as we got. What we've been doing is asking a couple of my friends, photographers and non-photographers, to do presentations just to kind of step out of your house arrest for just an hour every week. And we are, excited that you're here, and everybody's willing to do them as long as we get people to join in. So if you are an instructor or think that you want to participate by doing a presentation, reach out to me and we'll see if we can't fit you into the schedule. So I want to introduce, you're waving me down, Erin. You ready? Okay, so we're gonna share some screens here. Next week, Ruth Hoyt is a wildlife guide and photographer and teacher that is based in South Texas, and a lot of you guys are bird people. So she's gonna walk us through what a professional blind looks like, a bird blind, at one of her working ranches. Sorry. And then I think I've got feedback. Sorry, that's me. Yeah, okay. My phone gives us feedback. And then she's gonna kind of walk us through some tips on how to set up our own backyard studio that you can kind of apply to where you live. So the following week, a friend of mine is Michael Rung, and Michael's a Fort Worth photographer. He primarily is what I think of him as a landscape photographer, but he also teaches and offers workshops using Lightroom. So I've asked him to walk us through a little bit of a workflow and to offer some tips and tricks on using Lightroom. The following week is Jama Pantel, and Jama is an Austin-based photographer who has been published in the New York Times, by the way. She doesn't really say that very much, so I say it for her. But she is going to do a presentation on showing us how to pose for selfies. And I don't mean like selfies to be, a hottie on your Instagram page, but how to do more of a professional headshot in the event that you need one for your web page or bio or something. But she's going to walk us through some of those ideas. The following week, Shari Hunt is a Dallas-based photographer that I met through Instagram, and Shari offers workshops. She primarily is obsessed with the night sky, and she took a group of us, she kind of co-hosted a little workshop with me last summer, and we took a group out to Fort Griffin. And obviously there's not a picture of Shari because I took a bunch of pictures of us when we were at that event, and we all looked terrible, and no makeup. We started at sunset and went all the way through sunrise without going to bed. So as a favor to her, I did not post the hot, sticky, sweaty pictures of her that I had, but she's gonna walk us through some tips on how to get started in Milky Way photography. Tonight's speaker is Robert McGee. Some of you in Texas may know him as a host for Instagram Texas, which is the largest Texas page, I would say. And Robert, the thing about Robert is his feed is full of cows and cattle, and occasionally he'll throw some food in there. But his primarily it is considered a real estate hotel resort photographer, and he does, food layouts. So he's going to come on and give us some tips on food photography. You'll see he doesn't have a website. He doesn't have a Twitter. I don't even know if you have email, Robert, but basically if you need to get a hold of him, Instagram is the way to do it.
Slide it through DMs.
Right. And so with that, I was gonna say, no, I'll save that for next week. But I've lined up a couple more speakers, but I'm just going to turn it over to Robert. So I guess it's your turn, Robert. Take it away.
Cuckoo, ka-choo. All right. Thank you, Linda. It was a fabulous intro. As you can see from my profile picture that Linda picked out, having the camera in the back of the fridge with a big cake was a nice food shot. It was a great way to introduce yourself, as a food photographer. Food is not my forte. It's something I do enjoy. I carry a few extra pounds on me, so I do enjoy food, and I do enjoy a good food photograph. My goal today is to give you something best I can via a web chat that you can take away from this, and your food photography is going to go from here to, maybe even up here, based on tips, tricks, little industry insider stuff, lighting. One of the things about food photography is it is a little bit on the equipment driven side. Now, you can take your iPhone, and there's plenty of people out there that are doing it. You have those photographers that are, hey, I'm iPhone only and I'm a wedding photographer. And by the way, I charge this amount for doing a wedding. There's nothing that's, in the handbook that says that you can't do good photographs with just an iPhone or a Samsung or something like that. Along those roads. But when you do start throwing equipment at a food photo that you're doing, maybe you're doing a layout for a magazine, maybe it's just for a simple as a website or even Instagram. There are plenty of chefs that don't run their own Instagram that need awesome photography to highlight what they're doing. If you're specialized in something, it's usually not photography. You need somebody that specializes in photography to come out and highlight your speciality as best as you can. So be on the lookout that there are plenty of people out there willing to hire a photographer to come and shoot their food. Granted, digital and iPhones getting better and better over the years has made it easier just to click. There you go. If any of you guys watch Bon Appetit, they just slide their dishes right over the edge of the window. It's a north-facing window, which means that there's no direct sunlight coming in. It's nice, soft light, and they're just clicking away. And you go and you look at it, and you're like, man, that looks like a DSLR shot. So, but throwing equipment at it, one thing you can do with equipment is you can add supplemental lighting. That's probably the biggest thing with food photography is being able to, hey, I got this dish. I'm photographing it. I want it to look nice. It looks nice in the light that it's in. I got a wine glass, and my wine just, you pop a light right behind it. You add a little supplemental backlight to your wine glass, and bada boom, bada bing. You got your shot, and you added just a little hint, a little extra light, just to modify it just a little bit. If you want to add like a little backlight or a little bit of glisten to something, you can always pop in an extra light. The one thing that people I have a shadow. Can I get rid of a shadow by adding another light? The answer is most often no. You add another light to a shot, you're going to add more shadows. So learning lighting and learning light control and how to do it is going to be a real big key in doing really good food shots. If you're having to go and stretch above and beyond a natural light setting. That said, how much can you get done with a natural light setting? Probably about 85%. Most of the time, you should be able to find a table in a restaurant, a spot, a corner, a place that's out of the way that, you don't want to be photographing food while, rush hour is hitting. You got lights, you got tripods, you got other things, going on. You want to do, call in your chef, on and off hour, set up your menu, whatever you want to shoot, and have it come out spaced apart from each other. If it takes 35 minutes to prep a meal, it's going to probably take about 35 minutes to shoot a meal properly. So that said, a good question. Softbox. Yes. Yes to a softbox. That is one of the best things that you can have when shooting some food. They're portable, they're easy. You don't necessarily need big monstrous honking, we're not shooting a car. We're shooting usually a plate or maybe a couple plates or maybe just a tabletop. You don't need big equipment to do this.
So I'm going to stop you real quick. Can you just tell us what a softbox is, just so that we can all keep up?
A softbox is a light modifier, okay? And this is a real simple and easy setup that I have here. I have a camera flash, normal everyday old camera flash. Okay, everybody has one of these they put it on the top of their camera. For extra credit, you can use your little radio transmitters and take it off the camera. I have a nice little modifier right here that the light slips onto. You can see it's already got its radio on it.
So
Okay.
let me interrupt real quick.
Sure.
Just so that everybody's familiar with Zoom, you have an option to just put it in speaker view. So if you've got all our faces in gallery view, if you put us in speaker view, you can actually see Robert and the equipment he's holding. That might help for a visual. Sorry, not everybody.
No, that's good, because people do need to see this, because this is it's a pretty small softbox. It's not like ginormous or anything, but it's got a nice light bank on it that softens the blow. If I were to take my little strobe there and position it around a table, especially in the same alignment with the lens, it's going to be pretty harsh. You guys all know what align with the lens means, especially with those of you that have your flash on top of the camera. Your lens and your flash are aligned. It's a very flat and harsh light. That's why I'm saying, for extra credit, you can take a lot of photographers to hold their flash off, click, click, click like this. It's nice to have a nice 45-degree on some of your light. It projects nice shadows on people's faces and stuff. Same thing with food. If you're going to align your light source with your lens, you're going to have a really harsh looking, light, crashing onto your food and everything. A lot of food, if you look at it, you can dissect where the lighting is coming from. And a lot of times it's usually a single light source, maybe a double light source if you get into some, especially intricate lighting where you have to backlight a glass. You can see the color real nice, through this. If I were to shine a light right through this glass, it would really illuminate this beer. Really nice. Behind me, I don't have much light. Let's see if I can do this. See how it changes?
Yeah.
So having supplemental lighting or having additional lighting that you can control helps your food shot a long ways, and especially helps your food shot when you got an art or creative director, breathing over your shoulder, and I'm not seeing what you're doing, when you're doing food and stuff like that, and especially for magazines, or you're doing it for, a cookbook or something like that, you're going to have people kind of breathing over your shoulder and, kind of changing things up, or wanting it a little bit more their way than what maybe that you might have or trying to put together. So having additional equipment, soft boxes, bare lights, are an advantage to doing some perking it up a bit, making it look polished. One of the other two kinds of lights, the light that I just showed you in the softbox, that's a strobe, meaning pop, real fast, real quick, down and dirty. There's also what's called hot lights. And hot lights are nice because what you see is what you get. They're on all the time. They're called hot lights because they get hot. If you're shooting ice cream, yeah, you might run into some problems. That said, when you see a commercial and you see an ice cream, especially in the olden days, nowadays there's rules that you can't fudge it. You gotta do it for real. But you can take Crisco and cornstarch and food coloring, mix it in, I think it's half and half. I think it's a 50-50 ratio. You can make ice cream that doesn't melt out of Crisco and cornstarch, and of course, some food coloring. And for extra credit, if you want to add some, syrup or something like that, there's a lot of tips and tricks that food photography has that, in my experience, if I'm served a dish and I'm taking a picture of it, I always ask the chef, hey, can I eat this when we're done so we don't waste it? Because there's that turkey that you see on TV that, oh, it looks so good. It's so perfectly cooked and everything. Yeah, that turkey's cooked for probably about an hour, maybe an hour and a half at 300 degrees, and then shoe polish is rubbed all over it. You know a turkey is done when the legs, the meat separates from the tips and everything. That's not very appealing. So that turkey is usually only cooked for like a third of the time that it actually needs to cook, and then they take and rub brown shoe polish on it, and that gives it that nice golden look. You know, it looks a little bit cooked, but it's mostly the shoe polish that's actually doing it. You know, and there's all this, you know, you could slide the butter and you could slightly melt the butter with a lighter and get it to slide down if you're rolling video. You know, there's all kinds of little tricks and stuff that people are doing for their food photographs. You know, if you have something that you want to glisten a little bit, hey, there's nothing wrong with having a little oil brush and a little dab, 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 a little bit of oil. Gives it that nice little shine. Tops of pizza, you know, something that may appear dry that needs that's that little bit of backlight help, and you want that light to kind of pop off of it a little bit, look a little bit shiny, base a little bit of oil on it. You know, you can do that stuff like that. There's little fake tips and tricks that you can, you know, so it's one of those things you kind of eat. Asparagus is almost always undercooked for a photo shoot. You know, you bite it and you're like, oh my gosh, it's still raw. Yeah, you don't want to overdo it, you know, for the photo view, because when it's cooked properly, it's got harder grill. It starts to get soggy. It's kind of laying there on the plate. You want it to look preppy and perky and stuff like that. So especially like vegetables, a lot of them are undercooked. So that's it. Hey, I have about 30 photos that I'm going to share, and I have never done the share screen before. Do I have to?
All you have to do is hit share screen, and it'll take you to your desktop or wherever you have you choose desktop. I'm assuming
I'm on a Mac, so
okay.
I have
the photos open in the background. Click share
Gotcha.
screen and then select it'll show you which one. You'll just pick the one that you want to select. It'll be right there.
Perfect. Okay, here we go. Share. Bazinga. So here we go. Here's some octopus with some octopus ink in powder form dashed on a plate. Let's see. Oh gosh, how do I select my? Oh,
Are you trying to advance to the next?
Yeah, I was in Photoshop.
And
my control tab is not control tabbing.
I don't work in Photoshop.
Typically, you would have had to.
There we go. Hold on, it did it. There we go. It's sharing a different one.
Okay.
There's a nice little shrimp dish.
Now, did you, what's the word? Did you make up these, or did you work with a food stylist?
I almost always work with, I work with a chef.
Okay.
I've worked with a couple of food stylists in my day, and some of them I've really enjoyed working with. Some of them I'm like,
okay,
I'm not liking what we're creating here, and I don't think our client does either. So I'm usually working directly with chefs.
Okay.
So somebody that's actually creating the dish.
On the side. One is from Patty, who's asking us to tell you how you set up the shots. And also Jama would like to know how you lit each picture.
This one is the very softbox fill with natural light background. So this is a dual light source. This is a open airy table with a large window in the back. You can see the highlight on the table. That's the natural light. I do have a slight soft fill going on with a softbox on this. So just on the front, very, very, very soft, just to give it a little bit of fill. This was a very easy. This is an appetizer setup that we did, very quick and down and dirty. We were actually shooting the restaurant, and they brought out some dishes for us to eat, and we pop up, real quick, just caught a couple and
Oh,
had a nice little
Jason is
tequila
asking,
chase.
is the softbox coming in from the front left angle?
Yeah, front right, just a little bit. You might be able to see a little bit of softbox action on that grape there in the front. That's the one thing, you know, when you look at, especially portrait photographers, you know, if you look in the eye, you can kind of, you know, dissect, you know, the eye gives away a 180-degree, you know, view of, you know, what's reflecting on it. So you can kind of pick apart people's lighting, that what they have. Another thing that we also do, instead of a softbox, especially if we just want to add some fill, simple reflector does really well too. Always, and so the nice thing about reflectors, they're lightweight, easy to carry around, easy to manage. They, you know, they fold up. It's a little trickier to fold them down. It's always a good assignment to give to, you know, new assistants. Hey, fold my reflector down, and they'll fight with it for 20 minutes, and then you're like, okay, watch. You know, it just rolls into itself when you put it away. Here's a good photo of a photo.
Wait, hold on a second. One more question. What kind of lens are you using in this shot?
That was a 2470. This is an iPhone shot, but this is something that's showing. This is something that's showing the setup, and then also somebody else taking a picture of the setup. So this is the Sony, and you can see the radio transmitter on this. We were lighting this with a little bit of strobe action. We had some mule cups set up with some drinks, a little bit of background. A pretty simple shot. It was a, you know, very simple, easy, just composition. Shot it long down the table, so we're seeing, you know, mostly highlights across the tops of the table. You can kind of see the shot on the back of the camera there, which was at 1/20th of a second f5. It's kind of a medium depth of field on that one there. That's also looks like a 2470, but it is set up on a tripod, so it's very controlled environment. You know, obviously there's no foot traffic in here. The bar was closed. You know, nobody tripping over tripods and stuff like that. You know, when you go into a museum, oh, no tripods. Tripods are a tripping hazard. That's clear for and foremost the most why you can't take your tripod in certain places. People trip over them, and it, you know, people get hurt and stuff like that. So if you're gonna, especially lights, you're gonna set up light on a tripod, and you're gonna have it up high and everything. You know, cords. You know, you got to tape your cords down. You know, it's best to work when places are closed. Work it out with your client, you know, that, you know, you need a space to work, and this is going to take up, you know, I mean, you're doing a food shoot, you could take up half the restaurant. I mean, you might use a table for one shot, move to the next table, move the, you know, and have the dishes come on out and everything like that. You can really take up some real estate. So if have somebody that's just expecting to just bring you out some food during rush hour, yeah, unless that place is like just totally brilliant and lit, they're okay with an iPhone photograph that you're going to do right at your table. Okay, that's fine, but you're not going to come away with a commercial shot, you know, of, you know, controlled food, you know, looking good and looking its best during rush hour. Patty might recognize this one. This is an iPhone shot. This is something we did. We were working on a food shot, and I just quickly, just for Instagram, bada bing, took this. We were trying to make some good outlandish seafood, very Florida-esque, to feature one of their restaurants, and came up with the ball mason, shrimp, and just claw celery, you know, like Brad Pitt in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. We got that monster piece of celery in his Bloody Mary shot. No, most of the time we're doing hotels and resorts. Weather depending, we run into issues where, you know, hey, we're rain delayed, nothing to do. That's a great time to do food shots. You know, restaurants closed or restaurants not busy or anything like that. Can't do anything outside. The schedule's getting pushed back because of rain. great time to be inside, you know, work with the kitchen, work with the chef, work with your menu, work with your shot list, and crank out some food shots on your off, you know, on your day. You're not, you know, you can't go shoot the golf course, or you can't go shoot, you know, the ocean, you know, rain and thunderstorms and lightning. And yeah, it just doesn't make for a good beach photo to sell your property. Go sell it by doing some food. Another good one with shrimp buffet. It's an iPhone shot. This was delivered to my room. I took this as a, you know, everybody gets room service, right? Does room service ever look good? You know, when you go to McDonald's and you get the burger and it's half smashed in your bag and you're like, oh, whatever, I'm hungry. You know, the lettuce is the heel of the lettuce. It's not the beautiful, crisp, you know, buttery, you know, lettuce, you know, on the outside of your burger. No. When you have something delivered to your room and it looks like this, you might as well be in the restaurant. So this one got an iPhone treatment. I kind of parked the mirror in the shot and everything and did this. And I ended up sending this to the hotel management saying, kudos, good job. I mean, I could have seriously set up light box, camera and everything. And you know, so this is a good example of preparation. You're always going to be at the mercy of whoever's bringing you the food or whoever's cooking you the food. It's your job to take the good picture. It's their job to make.
Do you ever include,
you know,
restaurant logo
plating.
or ID in your photos?
Pardon?
Do you ever include restaurant logo or ID in your photos?
Sometimes I have to include, and that's coming up. Sometimes I have the chef. You know, sometimes the chef sells the food just as much as the food itself. So being a good portrait photographer, if you're going to do food, be prepared to do some portraits, because you're going to run across, you know, the people that you know, work with the food. You know, you might have somebody doing a shaker at a bar. You know, you can do somebody making a great drink, doing a shake, doing a pour. And I'm not just talking for photo either. A lot of stuff that I get hired for is video. So, you know, while I might be behind the camera, click, 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 I might be, you know, putting the camera on a gimbal or putting the camera on a tripod, and I might be running some, you know, 4K footage of what's going on. So we'll do photo and video in a lot of cases, especially in the last 5 years. It's really, video used to be down here and photo used to be up here. Now they're kind of right at neck and neck. So, I love this one. This was with my Sony. Through the glass case, natural light, no additional lighting or anything like that. This was at the Park, not Park Hyatt. This was at Post Oak in Houston, brand new hotel, and they have this beautiful bakery that's downstairs, and it's almost a little bit on the Willy Wonka side. It's got outlandish color. It's a beautiful place and so something. But their bakery case was, I mean, click. I had, you know, couldn't resist getting a great shot and lining up a nice, you know, very simple light coming in from the left. You know, everything just fell into place right there with a great photograph. Didn't have to touch it, didn't have to move anything or anything like. Just really went up to the edge. So it's through glass, and took this shot for them. They loved it. When they got this with their collection, they were just thrilled. The only criticism I got, there's a little gap where the one little muffin, you can see more plate than anything else. Other than that, didn't hear a peep from anybody. You know, they just love this shot, especially for the menu. This actually went on a side of the menu. This was I believe this one came from Mexico. This one was just a nice avocado, jalapeno, cilantro pizza that we did. We wanted to cut. I came in real nice and close. This was it's a little bit on the macro side. I think I still did this with the 2470. You know, the 2470 has a little, you can do some decent macro with it. It had nice color. Again, this is a natural light shot, no supplemental lighting on this one. This, I believe, yeah, this was also the same restaurant. This was a really interesting burger, and this one I came in very, very close. Mostly, you can't even really see the meat. It's not a meat burger. It's a portobello mushroom burger, which looked, yeah, not that great. So, letting it fall into shadow and showing kind of the toppings on this, and the fries in the background and everything. They really like this shot. The portobello mushroom burger would not be one that I would put like in photo on the menu. I would do I think we did end up doing a real burger shot for them that they were really happy with. This is a really good example, is that be careful what people lay out for you. This was an iPhone shot that I did, and this was nothing special. You can see there's a crack on the wall or anything like that. But they, hey, come do some food photographs for us. Okay, great. What do you have set up for us? And they pointed us in this direction right here. And it's a bunch of noodles spilled onto the table, with some wine, some grapes splashed around, and it was just like, yeah, this is an example of what not to do. This is why I took this with my iPhone. This is not, obviously the color balance is like kind of all over the place. The lighting in the room was really, bad. And it was just, when you toss noodles on a table and say, go to town. Yeah, no, it doesn't really pan. So you're always going to be at the mercy of what they think is a clever idea. What we probably should have done is probably shot a pasta and bread dish. We probably should have just made some pasta, come up with something nice and, not too fancy or anything. I was actually going to make a pasta dish for tonight because that would be easy to do, easy to film, easy to, but I can have pasta water ready in 8 minutes, have the pasta ready in another 8 minutes, have a dish ready to go, add some sauce, put it on a plate, add lighting, and I can have that done like really fast. I could have had it all done before the class and had a photo shoot ready to go. It's not hard. So if you are going to work with food, be careful who you're working with. Make sure your vision is in line together. So we were talking about doing some where you do have to work with a chef. Okay, this is one of my favorite chefs. He also happens to be a brilliant photographer. He's a toy photographer. He's one of those guys that takes the toys and puts them in those funky action shots, adds a little blast of air to puff things, do things and make things look actiony and everything. And I was like, speaking of which, we have a language barrier here. I speak Spanish, but my Spanish is pretty bad. Okay, so it's not like, and he speaks virtually zero English. So, but we jived in camera, the language of cameras. So I was like, oh man, I love your toy photography. I love all your stuff. I was like, we need to incorporate. He is a professional. He's one of the best sushi chefs I've ever met. And he's in Santiago, Chile, South America, at the W Hotel in Santiago, at a restaurant called Caray. And I fell in love with it. I was like, I got to have a portrait of you. And I want to mix your toy photography with your sushi. And at the time, his Instagram handle was Woody's Face. So we had Woody riding a piece of sushi, which, by the way, I ate that sushi. But it was a great. And this one this one was with the softbox. So I did add a little extra supplemental lighting for Woody and for him, way up high, upper right, had it on a stand, went into the restaurant while they were doing prep. So the restaurant was actually closed and came over with something nice and tight, him holding out Woody, on a piece of salmon. When you do get into food photography and you're doing it, one of the lenses that you're probably going to find yourself using a lot is a macro lens. There's a lot of fine details that you're going to be working in close. You're going to be working in, like I said, using the 2470, it's often slides into that macro mode when doing food shots. This one was with a 100 millimeter macro lens. This was a pestle and mortar with fennel. Another one very similar with the Chile de Arbol. There's another one that's, this one is also slightly on the macro side. Very small, petite dish, fish, ceviche dish. There's a lot of edible flowers that are out there, which are great because they really like bring some color. You know, ceviche's not like, if you have just ceviche just piled up on a plate, it's not all that appetizing. It's fish that's being cooked in lemon juice. The lemon juice, you know, you cut your finger and you get some lemon juice in it. Oh my gosh. Well, your finger's being cooked with an acid. Same with fish. When you take diced up, you know, fish and everything, you can cook it by just putting it in an acid like lemon or lime juice.
Robert is asking, how do you decide the amount of food to include in a particular shot, i.e. full plate versus close-up?
That is a fantastic question because there are several ways that you can do this. And we run into, take this back. Usually it's take this back, make it more petite. It's too much. First of all, don't worry about filling the plate. You don't need to have the steak hanging off the plate, you know, where you can't see it. And oftentimes the plate helps frame it. In this dish, how many of you think know how big this dish actually is?
I'm guessing a saucer. Actually, so Aaron and I are the only ones who can answer, but I'm guessing a saucer, just a very tiny.
Yeah, it's not big, but then it's not a cup. We're talking, you know, it's about like I can take and hold maybe my hands around it. That flower is pretty big. I mean, that flower is probably the size of a $50 silver dollar. It's a pretty good flower. It's got a pretty good, you know, cucumber slice roll in it. But most often, what you want is you want to portion it out to what the rest. If you're working for a restaurant, you definitely want to show the portion you're going to be serving. It's one of those where you go into McDonald's and you get your hamburger, you want it to look like the picture. Well, same thing when going to a restaurant. Hey, I'm ordering the ceviche and I thought I was getting this and I got this. Okay, so you kind of want to, you know, this is where scale comes into play. And this shot does not have it, a fork. Y'all know how big a fork is, usually. They're almost all, you know, kind of the same size unless you're using one of those little guys or anything. Having a fork in your shot gives your shot scale, which is really good. Wine glass with a wine shows your size of your plate and everything, gives your plate scale, which the meat, the food, whatever that's on it, when it has scale, your mind automatically, that's how much I'm getting. This shot does not have that. This is just a pretty shot and it has no real element of scale in it, you know.
I don't want to rush you, but you got about 10 more minutes.
Oh, holy cow. We're going too slow. Okay, real quick and easy food shot. This one also includes a person. And the fork and knife are in this. This one does have, this definitely has some supplemental lighting in it. I believe this area was rather dark, so we do have 2 soft boxes rolling on this shot here. This is the same shot, different angle. I like this shot better. This shot presents better for the layout, showing everything. One of the things you're going to have to look out for when you do place things on black, this is where the supplemental lighting, you're kind of want to, you know, make things pop. The orange glass was kind of like not, you know, so this is where we definitely pumped in a little extra light. One of my favorites.
Cheese plate after that shot, because that looked like a really good cheese plate.
That was a really good cheese plate. That it had caviar, it had everything. I mean, and the nice thing was that nothing of this goes to waste. You know, there's myself. I have usually one or two assistants that's working with me, and when we go to these, we come hungry because usually 9 times out of 10, the food that we're shooting is edible. There's very seldom times where we do the tricks or, you know, where the asparagus isn't cooked all the way or there's brown shoe polish on the turkey or anything like that. Most of our stuff is pretty much as it's made, you know, and the chefs want it to be as such. And this is a really good example of that too. This is a wet market in Peru. And, you know, I had a field day in this wet market. I love them. I love the characters that are working in them. My longtime assistant who lives in Hawaii now has an affinity to butchery. And earlier, before I took this shot, a guy had one of those big hacksaws and was actually like hacking up a pig carcass. And I got this beautiful shot of him like. So when you go to these markets, you get the real thing. The feet are still on the chickens, the head are still on it, and you can get some, it's kind of shock food photography. You get to show people what they don't see in the grocery store. You go to the grocery store, it's all nicely wrapped, everything's all, taken care of and everything. But in a lot of cases, this is how people buy their birds. Mm-hmm. On that note, this is from the same wet market. So where you have something that might shock you, you also get something that's absolutely beautiful. And this is an iPhone shot. This is one of my favorite iPhone shots. It was the natural light that was coming in there, and I had my camera slung around me, and I just whipped it out and just clicked one real quick and then ran and got into a cab. We were actually being kicked out of the market. There was a whole thing on that. That copyright stuff is time for another class for that. But I snagged this on the way out. Now you can kind of see there is one label that's on one of them, but it was a really nice, colorful shot. And I took one with my camera, and the iPhone shot, just the focal length was better. I had better composition and everything. The light just came out really nice. And what you see is what you get from the iPhone. This is also from the same wet market. In Peru, they love their guinea pig. We might have it as a pet. In Peru, it's somebody's food. And they have different ways of cooking it and roasting it, but it's called cuy. C-U-Y. And every time I go to Peru, I love it. So if any of you have guinea pigs, I'm sorry. One of the great things, there's a little bit of journalism that you can get doing food shots, and you can very easily, get in the back room, filming prep. This was a farm to table restaurant. The table is literally 10 feet from the garden. So this was a really great opportunity to showcase, them picking the food, cleaning it, and then bringing it right to table. And they had a special stove. But this was great. You got to see the chefs actually doing it. This was at Tambo del Inca in Peru, which is on the Inca Trail on the way to Machu Picchu. And they take you out, show you the garden, park you at a nice table, and feed you. And these were all iPhone shots. We were mostly running video, so I had my Sony running video and everything. So I with the iPhone. Really nice, soft. This is a fish dish that we also shot in Peru. Same restaurant. Sometimes you get into the corny. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it. If somebody wants a shot, that's fine. No judgment or anything like that. I found these a little bit on the corny side, but still fun. It's a fondue, for wedding couple. And, we did add the Veuve Clicquot to kind of let's amp up our quality, I guess, on this. But these were cute and these were fun. Drink shots. Whereas you might be doing food shots for a restaurant, be prepared to do some drink shots for a bar. The cocktail market now is through the roof. People making exotic cocktails, having cocktail pairings, having wine pairings, having beer pairings with food. You know, let's face it, drinks come with the meal. So be prepared to photograph some drinks. I didn't drink this one, but I'm more of a beer guy. Here is cuy like it should be served. This is the guinea pig.
Yeah, I'm gonna say move on. Let's see a cuy.
Yeah. Adding location to your destination or to your food shot. This is a grill that was set up. This is a nice thing that one of the hotels that we work with, they set up a tent in the middle of the desert. Bring a portable grill, bring all the food. The chef comes out, and you have a whole wonderful experience. Bring your, and sit out under the stars in the middle of the desert and eat some really exotic Peruvian food. And on this one, it was trying my best to get a shot where we get the location with the food, selling it all in one shot. Of course, every chef wants to be a photographer. Why not make them look like one? This is an iPhone shot. I have 2 hot lights wrapping either side. Ding, ding. Of our chef. You can see the shadow on the table really gives it away. You can, like I said, if you're trying to add a light to try to cancel out a shadow, you're just going to make more shadows. Well, here's a really good example of that. Obviously, the 2 lights are casting 2 different shadows from the bowl. It makes a really nice highlight on him, lighting his hair, lighting his coat and shoulders and everything. And he was very proud of his dish that we were doing right in front of his wine room.
Okay.
By the way, this is Jeffrey Zakarian's restaurant, The Lambs Club in New York City.
Nice. Okay, I'm the bad guy, but I'm going to make you wrap it.
We're done.
Yeah, we
are.
Okay.
That was it.
So thank you for, I wish I'd thought to eat before you did your presentation. And thank you for getting to cuy, because I was like, okay, now I'm not hungry at all. But those, I was like, I should have eaten.
I like the shock. I do. I do like the shock photography. I thought about breaking out the rattlesnake, and I was like,
I could have taken a rattlesnake over a cuy. So, Erin, why don't we open up the mics, and if anybody has any questions and they want to jump in, please take advantage of Robert while he's sitting here.
Everyone is unmuted.
Okay. Anybody? Any questions? I do have a question. So, especially on the fruit, where you had a sticker on the fruit, if you were doing something like publishing that or really using it on something, would you have photoshopped that sticker off?
I probably would have taken it off beforehand. What you do before the photograph is taken, you don't have to do in post later. I'd rather spend 80% of my time behind the camera and as little as 15, 20% of the time in Photoshop. I actually don't do Lightroom. I do camera raw.
Okay.
Which there's not a lot of editing that you could do in that. I mean, you can edit your contrast and your controls and everything like that. As far as like removing something from a photograph, I'm of the you better like tell me to take that off before we do the photo. And obviously for fruit and anything like that, stickers or uncooked meat that may still have the stamp still on it. Hey, trim up the meat. Do the whatever. I would say make sure to do the things beforehand. So you don't have to do them in Photoshop. Obviously, if a creative director has a problem with something or if there is something wrong with it and asks, can you remove? Yes, it's going to be removed.
So Susan has a question, and her question is about shooting bread, like loaf. Do you have any tips on
I saw that.
Okay.
I saw that. And bread's a tricky one. Bread's another one that you can be can be dry. That might be one that you might want to, butter it. You might want to melt something on it, or you might want to do, but if you're just doing just a normal bread shot, I would say make sure that you're prepared to do your photograph. You have everything set, ready to go. Cut your bread fresh with a serrated knife. When you cut bread and you don't use it, you use just a sharp knife, it mashes the bread.
Where'd he go?
I'm right here.
He's going to go cut the bread.
Whoa.
You need a serrated knife.
I was going to say, if he comes back with a loaf of bread.
I'm right next to the kitchen.
Oh, can you hear this?
Oh, no.
Oh, you're laughing about that. Okay, good.
But you can very easily smash and destroy your bread by not using the right knife. So you need a sharp serrated knife, bread knife, to cut your bread. Anything else, you want a nice, clean, even loaf that you can lay down and stack up, for your photo and everything.
Okay.
But very good question, because I can talk about photographing bread for at least an hour.
So Dave Des has a question. What is your shooting ratio? How many photos per plate?
Well, definitely two. We're definitely usually always shooting a horizontal and a vertical. A lot of times, at least the good people that we work with tell us layout.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, I forgot to tell you, shoot this vertical. This is going to be for the menu, and the menu's, okay, good. Thank you. So a lot of good people will give you a good heads up. But a good photographer, even though they're telling you that hey, this is a vertical, blah, 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 shoot a horizontal too. Or, if the composition warrants it, you keep in mind that composition is everything when it comes to the food, above the lighting. Composition here, lighting down here. The composition tells the story, and what you're wanting to do is make somebody hungry. That's what your food photography should be doing.
So Jason Deckman has a question that I've been wondering about. How about steam? Capturing wisps of steam wafting, what's the right word? Off of a dish, waft, that does not sound right. Wafting off of a dish to communicate the idea of hot out of the kitchen. He's struggled with that shooting dishes that he's cooked in his own kitchen. Any tips on that?
A couple of tricks that you could do with this. First of all, okay, smoking guns, right? You want to capture that smoke? Backlight. You need a nice, you need something dark, with a dark background and a backlight to streaming through your smoke or steam. People that do the smoke in the contraption, they're smoking a drink. I'm kicking myself because I had a shot that I was going to put in this, and it was actually part of a video. But it was one of those little drawers where you put the drink in and you put the smoke in it. It adds that smoky. And we did a nice series where we had the smoke and we had it all backlit and everything. The other thing, is steam. Steam, you need a really cool cold room. You got a hot dish, hot plate, hot steam. You need a cold room. If you got an 80, 85 degree room and you're bringing out a hot plate and everything, it also has to do with the condensate, how much humidity. So obviously a cold room with low humidity you're going to see that steam. And once again, backlight. Okay. You need a light. And in some cases, that light is only being used just for the steam or smoke. When we do the smoking dishes where our smoke video, where we're showing this, them uncapsulating the food out of the steaming, the smoking dish, we're backlighting it and we're controlling the environment. I haven't been asked to do very much steam. It's always smoke. They're always smoking a product and everything. If somebody wants steam though, that's a very controlled environment, cold, hot food, low humidity. The steam really just makes itself in that situation. If you've got a 60, 65 degree room and you've got a nice hot 135 degree plate, that's, a wet dish, trust me, you're going to get some steam. No problem. But you're going to need a backlight to make it pop. Very good question.
Yeah, it
That's
was.
a problem.
Thanks for asking that, Jason. So I'm going to end this session with a comment, and I laugh. Heather Heaton says, "I'm still shocked you're a food photographer. I thought you were more of an ag photographer." Mind. And so the reason that is funny is because most, everything that he posts are cows, and so
It's steak walking around.
it's. So, Robert, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. All I got out of it was I'm really hungry.
Good. That was kind of my goal. I wanted to have a bunch of shots that were, at least somewhat appetizing. And by the way, Patty was watching. Patty did find that shot.
Okay. Thanks, Patty.
On my phone with the smoke. All I had was the video. I didn't have a still shot handy for some reason or other. I couldn't track it down.
So if you guys are coming up with questions that we didn't get to, or they come to you after we shut down, direct message him at Roaming Camera, and he can answer them there. I think that we're going to shut down for tonight. Hopefully you'll join us next week. Ruth Hoyt is in the corner, and get ready for your wildlife photography questions, because I'm super excited to have her volunteer to come and give a presentation. So the rest of you guys have a great week. I hope your shelter in place is going well. I actually ventured out yesterday for the first time to downtown Austin, and that was just creepy. During the day, nobody's there. It was really, really weird. So wherever you are on the little planet that that we're all on, y'all be careful, and hopefully we'll see you next week. So thank y'all.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, Linda.